And we are live.
Live, yeah.
Live. And it's October.
October. Yeah. Doesn't look like October outside of these windows because I'm in San Diego right now.
Actually, it's been beautiful here still too. Like just absolutely beautiful. Um,
Yeah, yeah. But,
so I'm
but
Tricia Broderick,
I'm Diana Larsen.
and we co-wrote Lead Without Blame. And we've been coming together once a month, formally in this live format, just
Yeah.
continue to talk about topics that are directly in the book that maybe we wish we could have still put in the book, that are related to the book, and different things in an unscripted kind of just discussion way of
Yeah.
engaging, partially just because we miss each other and enjoy getting back together.
Yeah, that's
You
mostly it.
can't go from writing a book for hours a day. Like it's withdraw.
Yeah,
I have withdraw.
yeah, yeah. We were together a lot for
And
a
it was
couple of
COVID. So
years
like
there.
it was very emotional.
Yes, yes.
So
Oh,
our topic for today is organization and organizing and different things um and it's a little bit, we came up with this topic just because I don't know about you, but we just came off the Agile Network and talk with things, but it just feels a little chaotic, a little overwhelming. And I lean into my organization. I lean into making sure like I have to, not just because I love my check marks, which I do, but also not wanting that feeling like I'm letting something drop. Right. So where do you rate yourself on like organizational crazy level to I just fly with it? Like where's your on where are you on the organizational skill spectrum?
that's funny. I mean, it's just so funny you should ask that question. I mean, I knew this was a topic, but that you're funny. Because right before this, I was thinking about you and me and being very grateful that you are such a good manager. I mean, that you do take care of all of those things. And I think you're also an awesome leader. And I think I'm a really good leader too. My management is a little a little more. I try to surround myself with people who can help me stay organized. So you, my assistant Tommy, other folks who really have that skill, who like having those check marks. I just really appreciate that in people because it's not, for me, staying organized um is hard. It's like a stressor. It's not something I naturally do. So it's a thing I have to really pay attention to make sure. I mean, and I know it's a thing I do need to do. And certainly I was a mom of three kids, so I had to be had to have some organization skills. But I also knew that I was like leaning into it. It wasn't like, oh, isn't this fun to check the boxes and do those kinds of things. So yeah, so for me, organization is more of a challenge. But I there are lots of things I enjoy about organizing. I like to categorize things. I like to sort. I like to make I like to make lists from time to time. And not so much to check them, but just to know that I have the list. It's all written down. I'm not going to forget anything. Um, right now, just this may be a little TMI, but someone dear to me passed away, and I'm now in the process of participating in clearing things out of the house and getting things ready for whatever comes next for this place and for all their stuff and I'm finding things like file drawers, separate file drawers that have folders in them with the same name. And like this is all the things about that topic, but it seems like this was from 2002 to 2004, and this one over here picks up later. Some of it is mixed, and I'm very aware of organization, right?
Well, that's actually one of my fears is I don't know if it's possible to always go into somebody else's mind in terms of
Yeah,
organization and
right,
like what makes sense to my mind of how it's organized versus what you would do to organize,
right,
right?
right.
We're all different, and I don't
Yeah,
know who it is. We have a LinkedIn user, but somebody's wishing you
yeah.
well
Oh, thank
with your
you,
loss.
thank you. Yeah, well, and I think that's, I mean, you only have to look at somebody's desktop, like everybody's desktop, and then file folders behind the desktop. Everybody has that. I mean, and the beauty of it is we can all do it in the way that works for us and that is our own way. But it is so important to find, I think, a way that fits for you because that's what keeps things from falling through the cracks. That's what keeps us from disappointing people we don't really want to disappoint, and things like that. So I do think, a certain level of organization is pretty as a pretty critical life skill.
Yeah.
And
I will say it is high for me, obviously.
yeah,
But it's stress relief for me. It
yeah,
is a it is a it is those things. Like I don't want to let anybody down. I want to, but I also will overly think about something over and over and over, trying to make sure I don't forget it versus if I can just write it down real quick with stuff, then I know I got it. It won't be. I mean, I just scheduled my kids like COVID vaccines and things like for November. I just scheduled it like because I want that.
right. Well, and
my
it's all at the right time. Yeah,
But my
right.
son's like, "Mom, but I can't do it until I come home for Thanksgiving." I was like, "Well, fine, but I need to be like."
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
definitely probably go too far on the thing. Sometimes it can hurt me to be over organized. I have caught myself a couple times where I will accidentally repeat a prep of something that I've already done that I've forgotten that I've done.
right,
Guilty,
right.
right? Or I prepped for it so long in advance that I was like, "What was I gonna do or cover or talk about?" Or right. So I've
Yeah,
gotten myself into that troubles a couple times.
yeah, yeah,
But in general, I like being several weeks ahead in my schedule in terms of like things I have to get done. So like my
yeah,
courses and things that I'm prepping for December, I'm already prepping the material just so it's
yeah,
there. I still have some tasks later, right? But
yeah,
most of it I try and be at least 6 weeks ahead just
yeah.
because things happen. And that's I think for me, organization is a risk management.
Mhm,
It's
mhm.
it's my way of handling risks that might happen, that I'll be okay if something, like if I lose time or I get sick or I lose some, right? Like that I'm ahead. I'm
Right,
ahead. So I don't even know if maybe I probably do just like organizing. It's probably a thing for me.
yeah,
But in general, it's a risk management thing for me.
yeah. Yeah, I think, it's we were just talking a little while ago about complexity, right? And so we do know that things change rapidly, and we do know that. But I've always loved you know, the what is it? How the Eisenhower quote about planning planning is everything. The plan is not. I that it's useful to sort of get that framework in your head about how things are going to happen and have a sense of that, but also being knowing that there's the it may come out that you're not going to end up doing the things that way. But there's something about having that initial plan that helps you adjust. Otherwise, you just get, if you've got no idea and then things go wacky, then maybe you're just thrown into chaos. So, um, yeah, there's something there about that, I think. And I do think it's, that different people, like some people love bullet journals. I try to do bullet journal. I'm just not a great note taker, and so it doesn't help to have a bullet journal if you write notes. So I've gotten better about asking people, like if I'm on a Zoom call or something, may I record this? And I will only use it for my own. reference to go back, but that's so much better than any kind of notes I would take because I get engaged in the conversation and then I forget to write things down.
Yeah.
So, they're just, I think we all have to kind of, some people love oh, well, so you all weren't doing the kind of work I was doing in the 80s and 90s, but we had
Oh,
but we had these time management notebooks that had a calendar in it and task lists and, all these things. And it was just hysterical to see how some people, that was exactly the thing. They would become evangelists for their kind of time management system. And then other people are just like, are you crazy? I could
no, I
never keep
never liked tracking my time by 15-minute
that.
blocks in the 90s, man. That was
Right.
horrible.
And
Horrible
yeah. And
trauma.
so it's so interesting about, like finding your own path to just enough organization for you. And that's going to be a different amount, I think, for a lot of people,
100%. So
Yeah.
what's a tip of organizing that you do? What's one of your tips for what do you do to help yourself stay organized?
Well, I do write things down. I because I don't I've spent time in my life kind of obsessing over, oh, I don't want to forget this, I can't forget. And something I learned was that our brains are crazy. They're like monkey minds, and they will hold on and just obsess over those things until they believe they are safe. And that if you write them down, your brain goes, oh, well, she's got that. And they can let it go. And for me, that's a stress management technique. Again, the other thing I do a lot is I look to surround myself with people who, know how to use those organizational tools and do that well and enjoy it. I want people doing work they enjoy, and so that I can do the work I enjoy. So, and finding those partners. I mean, it's a diversity issue, right? Finding those partners who are, more organized in one way and I'm more organized in another way. I mean, I have organized in my head so many, like I've got resources that I can share with people at just the tip of my tongue, all the time. I'm very organized about knowing who you talk to about what and how you connect with them and those kinds of things. And not everybody's good at that, right? So I think it is finding your own style of organizing and then collaborating with people who have different styles.
Or
Um,
finding or having Toby watching our and giving the quote for Eisenhower
oh,
and
thank
giving
you,
that for
Toby. Plans are worthless to
Toby's
plan.
on it. Toby's on
Exactly. I knew
it.
it was something like that. Yes.
I think one of the things I learned early on to do in organize, I mean, I'll make list of lists. Like it's really
Yeah.
I put my husband once on a list and he was so annoyed by my list that he ended up writing
Yeah.
things like stand up.
Yeah.
Because he thought I was overdoing it, right?
Yeah.
But one of the things that I'll do is on my calendar, because we make these lists of all the things that we have to do, but we don't necessarily make time for it. So one of the things that I do is on my calendar, like for example, for this, I actually have this calendar block of time for us to actually do the live. But I
Right.
actually have another block of time about a few days before to that's scheduled on my calendar to prep the stream, to prep any,
Right.
general, we don't script these, but like any notes or thoughts that I have on it. And I actually will dedicate, time for that on my calendar so that it isn't just, okay, I've got to do this task, but oh, when am I going to prep for it or do? So I got
Right.
really good at like if I have a meeting to facilitate, I also have a design facilitation
Right.
on my calendar. It also helped me when I started putting it on my calendar. One, I got to check off and do something, right? So
Mm. Yeah.
dopamine. But two, it made it so that I didn't even worry about when I needed to track it, when I needed to do it. It was like, okay. And then I always gave myself wiggle room that if something did come up, complexity, I could move that slightly, but I still had breathing room in there, right, to do it. So a lot of times I will have a lot of blocks on my calendar that are not mandatory that moment, meeting with somebody else. They're events, they're tasks for me, but they're on my calendar so nobody else is booking over them, and I'm going from one thing to another, and I don't have time to do that other necessary kind of work to accomplish my organization. So for me, it's organizing my overall day as well as the tasks that are needed. And that's been a huge help for me. For many, many years when I was practitioner or an independent, my calendar looks like that.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of I don't know, it's a kind of a combination. I sort of use Trello and as a personal Kanban sort of thing. So I can, and I have, I figured out how many things I want to, what's my whip limit per day. And then like every week I have, here are some things I think I want to get done this week. And then I have the things I want to get done the next week and the things I want to get done the next week so that I don't think I have to do all of it all at once. I can slice things into, okay, this week I'm doing the prep for XYZ. Next week I maybe am going to work on the slides, refine the slides for it, and then the next week, I'm going to present it or later on or whatever. And by parsing things out that way, I feel much more, I don't know, in control isn't exactly the
Not
right.
overwhelmed, right? Like balanced.
Unoverwhelmed, I guess. Yes, if that's a how many prepositions can you put together? But yeah, and that helps me. But I don't know that that would work for everybody. Trello is my friend.
Do you remember the Franklin Covey planners?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I held out on keeping mine, like to the point that people would mock me at airports because I still had mine. I held out. And one of the reasons that I loved it was one of the things that helped me with organization was how many times I would have to rewrite the same task day after day after day. And then I'd be like, okay, something's going on. I might need to go partner with somebody, right? And going to a Trello, going to a visual tool that made it easy to keep moving a task out was very dangerous for me because I could still feel organized and I just keep delaying and I just keep pushing and I would keep avoiding something. And so I had to put in Trello kind of a ticker of how many times I've moved something out.
Oh, yeah.
If it's not something that had a date, but it was a goal, but it was something I was definitely, and by the third time that I push it out from when I was going to target it, I have to do a little retrospective of why I'm pushing this out, what's going on. And I had found when I was writing, I didn't need that as much. When it's visual and it's easy to just move it, it's definitely something that I've had to work into my organization.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I sometimes move things, but it's usually because something has emerged that causes that there's a reason for me to not do it this week, but to put it to next week or not do it today and move it to tomorrow. But it's usually because something else has happened that's changed my plan, that has influenced what it is I need to get done. I also do the Eisenhower matrix, which is another Eisenhower thing. It's funny too, should come up here. But the urgent versus important thing, yeah. Or the urgent and important. I mean, the two dimensions and where is this thing that's in front of me? And then again, if I'm putting off the important things, that's that's a flag for me. If I'm putting off something that's really not important and not urgent, I don't worry about it as much.
Yeah.
But if I'm taking, the things that are important, I know I need to get those done.
Yeah, no, I'll avoid it. With it, but and Toby actually is calling it out. The card aging
Yeah, the aging thing. Yeah.
Because it does, like, for instance, like I'm increasing my National Speaker Association. I'm trying to work on more
Yeah.
speaking, just public speaking and in general.
Right.
And they say you should do a one pager. I have
Yeah.
put that thing off now for 6 weeks because, like, and I'll create reasons, right? Like, I'll create things, but ultimately I did a little retrospect, like, why am I keep pushing? Because the card aging had come up, and ultimately because I was like, it feels marketing, and like that is just not. So I'm going to collaborate with somebody who won't make me go my imposter syndrome, who will make me kind of dig into it, right? But there was a reason that I kept pushing that out, even though I was organized. I had it. I was in my whip, right? And I just like
Yeah.
play with it. And so it is something that I have to be careful about with, because
Right.
I'm so organized that I can be like, oh, I've got to do this thing, and it's
Yeah.
productive, right? I'll get my check mark.
Right. Right.
Oh, with it.
Yeah. I have little signs around my office that say, "What's the best use of my time right now?" And actually, on my desktop computer at home, the the when my screen goes to sleep and the sleep thing comes on, the sleep wallpaper or whatever that's called, um, uh, it says, "What's the best use of your time right now?" And then I have a few suggestions that includes go get a hug. You know, work on the next thing on your Trello.
But
What
that
you
is a
go
form
get a
of organization,
take a
right? You
walk.
are
Yeah,
mentally organizing what
right,
you need, right?
right, right.
My big thing is always keeping it within reason, right? I don't
Yeah,
always have a true whip of like how many, and I don't go over that. But
right.
the days that I know that it's really big, like,
Yeah,
I will be more transparent with others. Like, I'm stressed. I've got a lot to get done today, but I know that, right? And I'm able to
yeah,
better be transparent about what
right.
I'm looking at in terms of the day, and where that's at.
Yeah,
But I also find that I do a couple quick wins in the morning
mm, yeah,
so that I feel like I get that momentum right off the bat. Like, I'm organized, I got a little bit of momentum. Probably why my husband ended up putting things in like stand up just to annoy, like, because he was annoyed by my list. But it is to get a little bit of that momentum of
yeah,
feeling like, okay, I'm accomplishing things. Okay, what's next on my
yeah,
list to do?
yeah, right.
So what are
So this,
you, speaking of organization, and what are
yeah.
you organized coming up and doing? Where
Oh
can
my
people find
gosh.
you?
Well, next, after I get through with what I'm doing this week, next week I am speaking at the Pacific Northwest Software Quality Conference. I'm doing a pre-conference workshop on retrospectives, uh, getting the right cadence, making sure they're effective, and a talk on Lead Without Blame on Tuesday. And then later that week, I hop on a plane and head to first to Copenhagen just for kind of a layover, and then to Istanbul. And I'm going to be speaking at the Agile Summit in Istanbul, Agile Turkey Summit. And after that, I'm giving myself a gift and I'm going to the Agile Belgrade, Serbia conference. It's a day-long conference. I've never been to Serbia. I'm going as a participant, and I'm just really looking forward to doing that. And then from there I'll fly back to Copenhagen. I've got a couple of like user group things there, and then in early November, I'm attending a week-long conference that I do every year called the Consultants Retreat and Network, with which I always look forward to a lot. So that's my whirlwind tour. And then after Thanksgiving, at the beginning of December, I'm going to speak at Scrum Day Europe in Amsterdam. And gosh, who knows what else?
Do you, I mean, I might need to be put into a suitcase with you. Gonna-
This is always my most intense travel time of year. It just seems to work out that way every year, and so I just let it happen.
Oh, I
It,
love it. I love it. I can't wait to hear about them.
yeah,
I have I actually have public upcoming courses, which I don't do a ton of public courses, but I have a couple scheduled in a variety of different things coming up. But they're all virtual. So few public virtual courses coming up. But I am speaking at TechWell in Orlando. I'm flying into Orlando on Saturday.
Yeah.
So I'm my thoughts are with everybody in Florida and Southeast Tennessee, North Carolina area as it is. So TechWell next week is the goal, the target. And then I am flying up from there to Indianapolis to do Agile Indy, which I have never been to Agile Indy before. So I'm excited about this. Never been to Indianapolis, actually. So I will be going to that. And then later this month, I will be doing a keynote in Denver for WICT, Women in Computing Technology, here in Denver, as which I'm super excited about. It's a group that I haven't gotten to engage a lot with, and I'm looking forward to meeting everybody there with that. And then the Innovate one, Virginia's Innovate, actually got moved into 2025. They had some issues with the venue, I guess. So that one is no longer in October, which actually is it was a little, I was like, I'm 5 conferences deep in October. It always feels like that, right? So that one got pushed into 2025. Just saying that out loud felt weird.
And I think we need to mention that both of us are now expert members of the Agile Network, and we have talks, we have profiles up there. We've been recording things. Tomorrow they are doing their grand opening launch, and that will last through Friday. There's just going to be talk after talk after talk. So by a lot of really good people. I'm doing mine tomorrow at 1:00 Pacific time. And
mine's at like 7 p.m. Mountain, I think.
And I think for me, if you want to keep track of what kinds of things I've got going on there, going to dianalarsen.com/subscribe and getting on my newsletter list is the best way to hear every month about what kinds of things like that I have coming up. So, and I know Tricia has some ways to get in touch with her, but it's a new thing, and that's why they're doing the grand opening launch. And I'm excited about, I like people who are trying new things.
Experimenting. I love it. And like engaging. I've been enjoying being able to do this kind of stuff, right? With several people and things along those lines. And then our next live, we have set a date. Look at us being organized. For 11/4. So we will be coming back another Monday, just with Diana's schedule traveling overseas. We're making it work.
US 11/4, so November 4th.
Yes.
Ian.
Yes.
4/11, the other one.
And if you want a specific topic or if you have questions for us, always let us know. Otherwise, thank you for joining us. Thanks for participating, and we loved all the comments. Have a great day.